Raven Lake, Grizzly Den, that loop there, which is really close to Prince George. Yeah. It's nice. And I saw a woodland caribou. And it just stood there and looked at us. And you could see its breath. It was magical. I didn't have a camera with me then. It was enough just to hike. But just seeing the wildlife out in the wild.
Welcome to the Take on Prince George podcast, where we explore the stories, people, and places that make our region unforgettable. I'm your host, Colin Carson, CEO of Tourism Prince George. Today, we're heading into the wild through the lens of one of Prince George's most talented outdoor and wildlife photographers, Terrill Bodner. Whether it's the flash of the northern lights, a rare bird in flight, or the quiet beauty of a forest trail, Terrill has a unique eye for the natural world that surrounds us. We'll chat about seasonal highlights, gear must-haves, favorite local locations, and what it really takes to capture the perfect shot in northern BC. If you've ever wanted to slow down and see our region in a new light, this one's for you. Let's dive in. So Terrill, welcome so much. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much. For those who don't know you yet, can you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Thanks, Colin. I appreciate your phrase, if you ever wanted to slow down and see our region in a new light. I find that slowing down is a key element in photography, at least in my photography. When we slow down, we see things and we see them differently. So a little about me. I've been photographing since high school, black and white and in the darkroom. Then marriage and kids, work kept me busy. Once the kids were grown, though, I had time to pick up a camera again. And so I decided to start my photography business. 15 years later, I've narrowed it down from portraits and commercial work and nature photography to just nature, wildlife, and landscapes. And night skies is what really makes me happy.
Well, we got a lot of night skies here in Prince George. So how did you get started specifically in that outdoor photography here in northern BC? Where did you grow up? Are you from Prince George, the area? How did you get involved in it, and especially here in Prince George? How did you end up here in Prince George?
My parents took us back we were born in Calgary, took us back to Nova Scotia where I had my elementary years. And then as going into grade 8, we moved all the way across Canada by train. It was, and I was 12, just turned 13. And so we went into Connaught Junior Secondary. And I say we because I have a twin sister.
Oh, wow.
Everybody knows her. So in high school, I was really shy. So I joined the library club and the yearbook club.
Awesome.
And I was on the yearbook for grade 9 to 12. And so played around, got a camera, played around for black and white, and had lots of fun.
Perfect. So what drew you specifically to wildlife and nature photography? Was it animals, landscapes, something else that brought about that passion?
Well, I think with my travels across Canada, the landscapes always were fascinating to see. The prairies, like, oh, it's so flat, but it's so golden, it's so blue. And then we saw the Rockies and the shorelines in Nova Scotia. All of that was the landscapes. The wildlife, when I really got into wildlife, I was 30 when I took up hiking. And the first time I ever went hiking with a friend, she took me up Raven Lake, Grizzly Den, that loop there, which is really close to Prince George. Yeah. It's nice. And I saw a woodland caribou. And it just stood there and looked at us. And you could see its breath. It was magical. I didn't have a camera with me then. It was enough just to hike. But just seeing the wildlife out in the wild up close, it was really
definitely. I mean, that's something that's so special about, Prince George and the area. It's just that ability to interact with wildlife here. Whether it's, right in the heart of downtown, sometimes you'll see, we recently had some deer visit us in the Visitor Information Center right in the heart of downtown of Prince George. So, that connection to wildlife here in Prince George is pretty special. So that's really cool to hear about your passion for that. So kind of one of the other great things about Prince George, the wildlife piece of it, but of course there's the 4 distinct seasons here. And I think that's really special. We get a lot of visitors to Prince George talking about how much they appreciate those 4 distinct seasons. So on the photography side, that makes things interesting because you probably want to be shooting photos year round. So kind of what are some of those favorite highlights seasonally that you love in and around Prince George?
I love all the seasons, and there's 5. There's sprinter. You forgot about that.
That's true, yes.
When we think it's spring and it's back to winter, I live on the heart. So. Each season has its own special moments for me. When I first started photographing fox kits in the spring about 10 years ago, at Cottonwood Island Park, like right in the city, the thrill of seeing them pop out. At that time, I had a 70 to 200 mil lens, and we're far enough back that Mama won't get too distressed about us watching at pre-dawn hours, in the cold, sitting in the bushes, and their fluffy little hair in the light was just, oh. You want to take them home, but you can't go near them. So that in spring, the wildlife comes out. It's wonderful around here. Just yesterday, I photographed a cow and a calf crossing the Nechako River, heading right into the park.
Yeah. So cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else have we got? Spring. Then there's summer. Summer is really great. 1st of June, when the grass, the Prince George to McBride Highway is a great drive, 3-hour drive there and back. Have some coffee at the little place there at the train station and head back. But I went out to photograph bears for the first time. The Black Bear Highway of northern BC, basically 26 sow and cubs in 6 hours, record. For me anyway.
Yeah.
I have not seen that many and photographed them along the way. It's really cool to see them. But as long as there's not too much traffic and slowing down and they're far enough away in the bushes, I don't like them if they're close to the road.
Yeah.
We just keep going because we don't want them on the road. Fall around here. Fall's my favorite season. It always has been as a kid because we've got the orange and the blues. In Nova Scotia, we had the maple leaves turning the orange and yellow and red and all that. And I missed it when we moved here, but it is still gorgeous. And I do find reds around here every so often in the leaves, so it's really nice because they're complementary colors, so I like that. The Ring of Fire at Good Sir Nature Park. I went there a couple times. That's really cool to see. It just reflects red and gold all along the water. Haven't been able to capture the beaver there yet, but one of these days. Fall, there's a crispness to the air and the crunch of the leaves under my feet. I just love to be out and about that time. A drive around Pineview area, that produced a great shot of 3 horses once for me, and it was in a foggy mist, and every time I go out that way, I swing by and see if I can see them. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, and it's still a great time to chase aurora. Every season's great for aurora. I love winter, though, because the days are shorter.
Yeah.
And you get out sooner to chase the aurora.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to stay out quite as late if you don't want to, because you get enough of it. It gets cold. You don't have to get up so early at dawn to capture the wildlife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to that though. Those short days in northern BC where there is benefit of it as well when you're looking for things like going after northern lights and kind of hunting those auroras or trying to get up at dawn. Let's talk a little bit about those northern lights. That is such a bucket list activity for so many people, and Prince George is an amazing place to view northern lights if you aren't afraid to get up a little bit early or get up in the middle of the night, stay up a little bit late. So why don't we talk about that? What's the best time to catch them? How do you gauge if it's a high probability? Do you have some tools, some tricks? Let's talk a little about those northern lights.
You won't shut me up now. I love to talk about them. The best time of year for me is around, or for everybody, is spring and fall equinox. The sun just gets more active around that time. So we see it, we might have better chance of seeing it wintertime because the night comes sooner, like I said, and lasts longer up here. We have the longer nights. So if you get a clear, dark night in the winter, usually your car is there too, so you can warm up and keep going out. Or if you have a camera that you can set on an intervalometer and sit in the car and have your hot chocolate, that works too. Summers, the days are so long, you have such a short window for the darkness, maybe 5 hours, and you're shooting at 11. It might be dark enough for it to show up, and then till about 3 o'clock. But we've chased the aurora 14 hours. It didn't show up, and we just went at night, 7 o'clock at night, and came all the way around. A beautiful sunrise. Yeah. Like you find something when you're out there.
Something of it.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Let's see. What do I use? I check my favorite apps daily. I do daily have a look whether they're being active right now or not, and just to see what's happening. There's a great Facebook page I follow, and it's been around for quite a while, BC Aurora Enthusiast. It's run by a local photographer, Rob Roman, and I just happened to meet him out on a shoot just this year after 10 years of watching his stuff and following what he does. He will report whether it's a probability of KP4, the index that is good at our level. or higher, whether it's good to go out or not. And then I check and see, oh, clouds. But we're lucky here in Prince George, like where we are in the latitude. You think people go to Iceland and Norway and everywhere else, 50 kilometers north of Prince George, and you can see them flare up and just have a wonderful show.
Yeah,
But you got to get out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of those great things. We talk about that where you can kind of go in any direction if you're able to find them on one of those nights where they are flaring and they're out. Is there a specific spot you recommend? You mentioned driving a little bit north. Is that kind of the best bet for folks if there is activity that night? Which direction should they head? Just drive until you kind of get to that darkness, or what would you recommend?
Well, people, I know there's shooters all over town, and some live out west, some live south. But north or northeast is better because the aurora, if it slows down, not quite as active, you'll see it more to the northeast. And you got to get out of the city glow.
Yeah.
So 50 kilometers north of Prince George is good. You go 75 and you hit Bear Lake and you can't.
Yeah.
Like the mill up there is pretty powerful, the lights at night. But you can go a little further up to McLeod Lake if you wanted to. Just finding the older roads and that are a little off. You want a wider open field if you can, and make sure you don't trespass, farmers' fields, all that kind of stuff. They don't like it. Makes them nervous. I can understand why. But the shows we had last year, May and October, around the equinoxes again. Well, no, I guess not quite. somewhere in there, were the biggest storms we've had in years, like 20 years or more of this century, anyway. And when I was here in February last year, I did a talk on the aurora, and I had people ask me, "Hey, when you're going out, let me come out with you." And so I joined, or I made a little messenger group that I would send out to them if they wanted to come. Most people, they've already gone to bed by the time I was, "Hey, let's go with me." I made the group, and when it hit in May, there was a lady from Sylvan Lake who somebody connected me on Facebook. Her son was coming in to try out for the Kodiaks. Yeah, so I met an aurora chaser from Alberta, Sylvan Lake, and I took her out the first night, and it was so great that I told everybody about it. Come on out the next night, and we shot for 3 nights in May. But that one night that everybody said yes, they would come, some of them had never photographed the aurora before. And I thought, oh, how lucky you are. I've chased for 10 years and been skunked a few times, but here you go and you get the best show on earth. And they just loved it. I was able to set up my cameras. I packed 2, and it was usually just focus on one side where I'm looking northeast, but it was all over us, and it just exploded. And people were so excited all over the world, way down south. And I thought, you could stand there, and with the 8 people that came with me, they were so excited, so happy, and I helped them with all their settings, and they got great shots. And what was really cool was, I can get goosebumps now just talking about it, I could feel the whole world experience that experience. It was really, really cool. Then it happened in October.
Yeah.
And it got even better. And there was fog all over Prince George and the whole northern area. And talk about depressed. So I connected up with a friend, and we left at 3 p.m. and headed east. We could go there or all the way up to Fort St. John. And east, 2 hours east was a lot shorter. So we headed that way and had a fantastic show. They say you can't see the northern lights with your own eyes, but you can the further north you go. But here, when we were east, 2 hours east in October, the light was still blue in the sky, and the sun had already set, so you're waiting for that darkness to come. And even before the darkness got there, I looked up and I could see these white streaks just streaking. They weren't clouds, they were vertical going along. And I thought, oh, wow. Oh, and then we could see pinks and reds with our own eye.
Awesome.
We didn't, the camera sees so much more than we do. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And awesome to hear your passion for that. And I think, that's something that, I think locals here in Prince George maybe take for granted, that's an experience that you don't get many other places as good as we have it here for viewing Northern Lights. So that's pretty special. And like I mentioned, we get a lot of visitors that really want to experience that. So
this is the year to come. It's the peak of the solar cycle when it's most active.
There you go. So get here soon.
Get here.
Yeah,
Get here
absolutely.
now.
Great. Well, so you mentioned a few mentions there about different seasons, and we talked about that a little bit. But specifically, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about spring and summer and bird activity in Prince George. So, any must-see species or locations for bird lovers here in Prince George?
Oh, there are tons of places to find birds in Prince George. I know the Prince George Naturalist Club. It's a volunteer-run club, and they're full of information for nature and bird lovers. You know, something you could join. There are several bird counts in our area every year, which is important to know where the birds are going and how they're doing. Cottonwood Island Park is one of the best locations here for spotting birds, I find, but it's also one of my favorite spots. Wilson Park is another one because the water there brings a lot of waterfowl and moose. They need to drink,
Yep.
you know. Right now, there's hundreds of trumpeter swans and other migratory birds in the Vanderhoof area.
Yeah.
End of March, early April every year. The Merlin Bird app helps me. It's something I check regularly too. It helps me identify the birds I come across by sound, or I can use it for a photo ID if I get a shot of it and I go home later and find out. It also lists the birds that are found in our area, so I know what I might be out looking for. Yesterday at Cottonwood, I used the app to identify a ruby-crowned kinglet, a tiny, tiny bird, but it has such a cool sound.
Yeah.
So I flipped on the sound on the app, and that's what came up. It said, "This is what's in your area," and they're very hard to spot. I didn't see it. I'll have to look again. I'll go tomorrow. And but for me, the must-see birds are the owls. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Just shameless plug for Tourism Prince George here. You mentioned PG Naturalist Clubs. They've made an awesome checklist of birds you can find in the Prince George region. If you want that checklist, you can come get it at the Tourism Prince George Visitor Center downtown. So make sure you come grab that if you're out birding. Let's talk about those owls. I think that's something that is really unique to Prince George as well. And I think or maybe not unique. There are owls all over, but I think there's some really cool owl photos that I've seen around Prince George, specifically in the winter. So yeah, can you talk a little about those owls in Prince George, and maybe how they're found and kind of your favorite way to shoot them?
Mm-hmm. I've been photographing and looking to photograph owls for many years. I'll tell you a story. In 2023, I convinced 4 other professional photographers to join me in an hour-long car ride outside of Canmore. And because we're socializing in the bar before the convention, and one lady, a member, said, "Oh, you want to find an owl? There's one way over there. It's a resident." I thought, "Oh, great, we know where it is." And she gave me the map and had a Google map and everything. Then I convinced 4 others to join me. They got up at 7 in the morning. No, before 7, because we had to drive the hour, and there was nobody on the road. And I was driving along thinking, "Oh, we better see it, we better see it, we better see it," because we had to be back by 9. And we did find it. And it was just amazing. I'd never photographed a great gray owl before, but they're all over the prairies because of the farmland and everything. So for owls, the best place to find them is around farmlands. But they're so camouflaged. You can look and find a bump in the tree maybe if they're sitting on a branch during the day. They're different sizes. The great gray is so big, so it's easier to see. And we had great grays here, more so than we have in the past years. So I think last year there was more babies, and here they are. We had, we're going to say different kinds of owls that are here.
Yeah.
Oh, you can find them sitting on posts. So in the country is the best place for the owls.
Yeah.
I've never seen one in the city, except for the great horned owls in Cottonwood Park the last few years. And I'm looking, I haven't found them yet this year. Whether they're coming back or not, I don't know. So people here, friends of mine that photograph owls, they share the locations with me, or at least give me a heads up that, hey, I saw one there. Because what happens if people put out in social media that, hey, there's an owl, you have 60 people rushing and all in the same spot, and the owls get stressed. They can't hunt, they can't eat. They'll either die or disappear, find another hunting ground. So we keep our locations pretty quiet. We'll post them when we think we've got a really good one and we want to share it, so it's so hard not to post. But because photography, it's all about sharing. But we don't want to stalk the owls. I take as few shots as I can and move on. If I come and there's a group of more than, say, 5 photographers, I might see what they're looking at and note the location or something, but I'll move on. It's there's no point in staying around. And, the same photographer probably won't go back the next day. They have to work or whatever. And I'm retired now, so it's like I don't have to shop
Yeah.
on the weekend. It's so fun. I can stay at home, do laundry, and then go out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. Doesn't matter. We've got short-eared owls here. They hunt during the day. So that's kind of cool. But I've only seen them in the winter, November, December. I haven't found any February, March. But they're around the fields as well. So just taking a drive on the country roads, that's the best place to go. That's where I've seen the great grays out in the country as well. Haven't found the pygmy owl, but they exist here. They're so tiny. I have seen a northern saw-whet owl, which are tiny, tiny too, but it tucks itself away in a fir tree. And so I've got a couple trees I check constantly. I just circle them. Nope, not there yet. Whether they'll come back there. The northern hawk owl I saw this year as well. They're a little more elusive than the great grays, it seemed. So they're harder to catch. But there's 15 species of owl in BC. And in the north, I think there's 5 of them that are only down south. So we have about 10 we can try and chase around here. Not chase them, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and I'd love to capture them all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's you brought up a good point there about ensuring that we're being respectful of wildlife, and I think that we're going to talk a little bit about that in a couple minutes here about some safety etiquette stuff. But you reminded me of a really kind of powerful tourism marketing campaign that I've seen recently, and they call it "Don't Love It to Death." And I think that that's really what we're talking about in these situations is these, especially these outdoor areas that are so important ecosystems for different animals and things of that nature. It's so important that we're extremely careful how we interact in those spaces, as it's really easy for us to come in, get really excited about what's there, if it's an owl, if it's a bird, if it's another piece of wildlife, that we're potentially wrecking that ecosystem for the animal and making it unlivable for them. So I think you really touched on that, but I just want to echo that. I think that's really important as we kind of talk about this, and really anything we're doing out in the countryside, out in the wilderness here around Prince George. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about some gear. So you mentioned a little bit earlier, you talked about different millimeters lenses and things like that, and it went straight over my head. So let's talk about that a little bit. So for anyone who's like considering getting into this, maybe they're just kind of dipping their toes in, or it's someone who's already kind of got their first camera and they're kind of getting a little bit more serious about outdoor photography. So what would you kind of recommend? Let's start with that beginner. Is there something sort of setup you might recommend? And then maybe for that person who's looking to take it to the next level, what would recommend?
Okay. Well, I'm a Canon shooter, but I'm not going to promote anything. I've played with Nikons. I've seen Nikons. I just drool over Nikons. There's Sony out there too. But I'll tell you a little bit about how I started when I first got into cameras again. I started out in the digital camera world with a Nikon Coolpix point and shoot that my husband bought me. It was for our anniversary. I got the camera. He got new golf clubs. I quickly outgrew that point and shoot because I was really into what I was going after, and I wanted better quality photos so I could print them. I'm old school. I like to see things on print. So I bought a Canon Rebel, so the entry-level camera. But it had interchangeable lenses, so I could do some close-up work or wide-angle landscapes, and then the longer lenses for the wildlife. At the time, it was great, but then I started shooting minor football for 10 years. I wore out 2 Canon 7Ds, which were great for football because they were fast shutter speed, which you also need for wildlife, something that has a high fast shutter speed, and good glass, good lenses. I replaced my Canon 7D with my last one with the Canon 90D that I have now, and I really like that. I haven't gone mirrorless, and I don't know if I ever will, but now I'm shooting with older equipment, and it still works. So, like I said, I had the 70 to 200 mil for the foxes when I first started out, and it's just a long lens, but the foxes were tiny in the frame. The 100 to 400, well, that's double the length of the lens. I can sit where I was and get them twice as big in the frame, which is more what I want. But it's heavy to carry. I've got a Canon 5D Mark IV, which is a full frame camera. The 7D is a crop sensor, which just has a smaller sensor, but it it shoots really fast for me. The 5D Mark IV is great for quality as well, but you don't get as much distance with a 100 to 400 millimeter lens on a crop sensor camera. It's like using a 150 to 640 lens on a full frame. So I have more reach with my crop sensor. That's why I use it for wildlife, and it's fast. My cameras, the Canons, they're pro level, so they're high quality. They're weather sealed, and so are the L series lenses that I've got for Canon. I got tons of them. That's 15 years of gear acquisition. But if you're just starting out, the best camera is the one you can afford. Get the best you can afford. Go mirrorless if you can. Possibly, it's the newest technology. Or buy an old DSLR like mine and upgrade when you want to. The old DSLRs, they still capture the images. A lot of my friends added the 150 to 600 mil lens to their arsenal for wildlife. I get jealous every so often, but I'm not going to buy another one. But there are two 150 to 600 mil lenses for wildlife, which are really great. They don't have to be Nikon or Sony or Canon. It's Sigma or Tamron. But because they sold so many 150 to 600 mil Tamrons and Sigmas, that it forced Canon and Nikon and Sony to make their own. So people would buy the native lenses that go with the cameras. But the 150 to 200 or to 600, if you're checking and getting really serious, make sure you look whether it's a sport lens or a contemporary lens. The contemporary is not as weather sealed as a sport, but it's $1,000 cheaper. Just be aware. I carry a tripod and monopod. It's always good to have. Like if it's an owl, it's in a tree, and you're sitting and waiting, it's sure hard on the arms holding a heavy lens for like 15, 20 minutes. And it's just going to sit there. Because as soon as you drop your camera to rest your arms, it takes off. Yeah. They do notice movement, so you really want to stay still. And that helps quite a bit.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I guess for folks that are like, just want to get out, they don't have any sort of equipment. The improvements in smartphones must make that ability for people to at least get out and, see if it's something they want to explore and want to invest in buying a camera in as well, right?
Yeah, I think cell phones, they've improved over the years.
Yeah.
Mine's not great for when I zoom in, so mine just takes little videos or a clip of I can remember where I was kind of thing. But I'm into the big gear, so yeah. I've got it. But I see lots of people stop and they'll take a picture of a moose or whatever with their cell phone. Just don't get so close. Yeah. Get back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And enjoy it that way too. And the night photography, a lot of the newer cell phones, they have night modes on them. And they'll take the long exposure for you. I have to do it manually. I have to know I need to open for 8 seconds at 100 and whatever ISO, 6400 ISO probably, things like that. But the camera does so much of the work now that it makes it easy and fun, awesome. Really fun.
Yeah, that's great. Good, really good to hear. So we talked a little bit about that earlier, and you just mentioned again not getting too close to animals and things like that. And any other kind of safety advice or etiquette you might have for folks when they are taking photos of wildlife in their natural habitat?
Yeah, respect their space. Keep your distance at least 50 feet away from a moose. I go 100, except for the other day when it crossed in front of us. Don't feed them, except for the birds and squirrels down at Cottonwood. That's fine. People have lots of fun with that, and the birds love it, and the squirrels. But don't spend too much time with them. I've read up on of the birds and animals that I come across, so I get to know their habitat, find out about them. And when it comes to bears or moose and the little ones, I just stay in the car. Yeah. You don't have to get out. If you're pulled on the side of the road, stay in the car. There's no need to get out. A bear can bluff charge in an instant, and they are fast. Yeah. And they don't want you in their space. You stress them. I wouldn't want somebody coming at me, hey, what you doing? Yeah. That a good dandelion? Yeah. Move slowly. If you're waiting for a bird to do something, like they sit on branches and then they fly. And if you're trying to get them in flight, which is more exciting, you really have to be patient and wait. But if the camera is in front of you, not down at the side waiting, because as soon as you flip it up, you've got a movement and they've caught that and they're gone. But if you have it in front of you and you can just slowly move it up or keep an eye on it, keep it on, at your eye is even better on a tripod. You won't startle them and you'll get more successful shots.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's awesome. Obviously, I guess if you're hiking, you mentioned Raven Lake earlier and things like that. Things like bear spray, always probably a good idea in this neck of the woods when you're out taking hiking or taking photos or things like that as well, right?
I keep bear spray, but I think I would just be, oh my God, it's a bear. And I'd be standing there. He'd get me anyway. So, yeah, you can pack the bear spray. It's good to keep it in the pocket or on the belt or whatever. I've never come across a bear that would charge like that, because you see them or they see you. They know you're there. It's just maybe I'm cautious around corners, because you don't know what's there. But I don't hike alone. When I go out for Aurora, I always go out with a friend, because you never know what could happen. But tell somebody where you're going is another really important thing. But when you're out with a friend, you're talking. All they need to do is hear you and they're gone. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. I think that's definitely some good tips there. So without giving away all of your secret spots, why don't you tell us a couple of your go-to locations around Prince George for shooting wildlife and landscapes? I know you mentioned Cottonwood. Awesome park, right in the center of Prince George, where there's lots of wildlife, the confluence of the two rivers, some fantastic trees as well, that are really interesting. Any other favorite spots you have?
Well, there's so many great spots here for wildlife. Sometimes I think we all know where to go. Yeah. I keep running into photographers everywhere. The foxes at Cottonwood, like I said, but I don't post the images until they've moved away from the den. I mentioned the highway, Black Bear Highway. Yes, I did. To McBride and back for bears, but June, when the grass gets green, that's the time to go. If it's snowy, forget it. There's Elsie Gun Trail, overlooks the city, overlooks Leleitene Memorial Park, Wilkins Park, Wilson Park, UNBC Greenway Trails. I was driving down here today and I thought, oh, I didn't put Moores on my list. Moores Meadow, it's right there in the city. And I know bears hang out there. It's fine. Yeah. But great hike. There's hills or there's valley, whatever you want there. Forest for the World, of course. That's a favorite there. Salmon Valley is a pretty place to take a drive. And Cranbrook Hill, driving up there, have a look around. There's probably a lot more parks than I've even considered. McMillan Creek, I haven't been up there in ages, but that overlooks the city too when you get there. Really awesome places. So, we've got so many places. Yeah. Pitt Herney is up in the heart too. I go there. It's the bicycle club has really made it a great place, and I've had friends come up from the Kootenays, and they stayed at our place because all they wanted to do was go on Pitt Herney. They'd heard about it, and I thought that was really awesome. But I like to walk there in the winter. That's when the eagles are at the landfill. But they also fly in the trees, so I get them in the trees and just enjoy them. I've seen a coyote there this spring. There's probably a pack of them. Moose tracks in the snow, so it's great all over the city.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, so many different options, opportunities to find that wildlife around here. How has, I guess we'll ask this one, how have you had any memorable encounters or kind of those once in a lifetime shots in the Prince George area that stand out to you?
Well, I think I already gave it away when I said about the big auroras in May and October. That was probably it. Just the thrill of going out with some other people who also enjoy it or like-minded or have never seen it before and can't imagine what they're missing. And you get to experience with them, like being with people and bringing that connection all together is really, really great. You don't have to do it alone. You can if you like. It's fine too. I make calendars up because I think I'll make a third Aurora calendar this year, because October didn't make it for the last one, so I'll probably do that. I've had lots of really great encounters, but I think it was the Aurora this year that really did it for me.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, I mean, you mentioned all your great photos and all your great work. Where can people find your work? How can people follow you online?
I'm on Facebook, Terrill Bodner Creative, or Terrill Bodner is my personal page. That's fine too. And Instagram at Terrill Bodner. And if you read on Medium, I write a little blog there every so often. It's Terrill Bodner. And my website is www.terrillbodner.com. My work is found at Studio 2880, Two Rivers Art Gallery. And of course, Tourism Prince George Information Center has my auroras as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
of course. That's the best place to buy them too. Not biased at all there, but the visitor center for sure. So what's that one kind of bucket list shot you're still chasing, whether that's, here in Prince George or somewhere else?
I'm still imagining a couple of bucket shot lists, but one that I'd really like to capture is the aurora in the winter with the Kennedy siding caribou herd. They only come down in January roughly, and it's in Mackenzie. It's not far, 2 hours north of us, and that herd, the people who have been working with them for over 10 years have grown that herd to double its size. They were almost extinct. And I think that's amazing what the Mackenzie Band has done up there. And the research from the UNBC is remarkable. But I would love to see this herd with the aurora sometime. So I don't know if I'll ever make that. But I can stay in Mackenzie for a couple nights and check it out, see if I can get the shot. The most expensive one would be to photograph, for me anyway, photograph the polar bears with the beluga whales. But I want to take it from the air.
Oh, yeah.
There's the tundra buggies out there and all of that. I think that'd be awesome as well. Around the Churchill area or even further north, because I've traveled in every province and territory in Canada except for Nunavut, and that's on my list. I'd love to go see it, but I mean, I don't travel worldwide. I think Canada has enough to offer for the rest of everybody's life, but it's whatever you like. The least expensive one, and I should be out there doing it right now, maybe tomorrow morning, is trumpeter swans in Vanderhoof. I've got this picture in my head for the last few years that at the crack of dawn, when the sun hits the underbelly of the swan when it's flying, it would be just fabulous, the peachy glow from the fog and everything else. So maybe I'll have to paint it. I don't know if I don't catch it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, those all sound like some great ones, and definitely a couple of those, close to the Prince George area as well. So definitely people should consider those for their bucket list as well, potentially. Okay, any final thoughts here? Why should people pick up a camera and go explore Prince George through their lens?
Capturing images in your own backyard or while traveling, of course, can help make the experience even more memorable. When you look back through a photo album or a gallery on your phone, I prefer the printed albums, like I said, old school. It's a way to see differently, a narrower focus perhaps, but it makes us more interested in our surroundings, leading us to appreciate what is around us. It gets you into the moment. Time stands still. We forget all our troubles, for a time anyway. We find joy. I can't believe we can find joy out there. For many, it's a creative outlet as well. A way to tell our own story by getting a glimpse into what captivates us and sharing it with the world. The camera, no matter what you have, is a tool to stop a moment in time, to take a long exposure, such as the aurora, or to document the intimate details of a walk in the woods or the first steps of a child. What would our world look like if the camera had not been invented?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely good thoughts there, and I think pretty powerful message. And you've encouraged me. I'm gonna go. Maybe I'll go try to find some photos to take this afternoon here when we're done recording this. But really appreciate you taking the time today, Terrill, to talk about your passion and for photography and for the area. And hope you've inspired some photographers out here listening to this podcast. So thank you so much. So that's a wrap on this episode with Terrill Bodner, a true talent behind the lens and a passionate advocate for the wild beauty of northern BC. Whether it's capturing the shimmer of the aurora or the stillness of a snowy trail, Terrill reminds us just how much there is to discover in our own backyard. Be sure to follow Terrill Bodner on social media @Terrill Bodner to see your incredible work and get inspired for your next outdoor adventure. And remember, sometimes the best way to experience Prince George is to slow down, look around, and take in the details. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.